Welcome, Arkuni. Thanks for joining me on this conversation. Can you give a little introduction about yourself?
Well, my online handle is ARKUNI. I'm one of the two developers on Super Autopets. Still is and still will be.
Very cool. Yeah, so it's very cool for me to speak with somebody who made the game basically. That is my favorite game for a long time right now. Um, I think it will be interesting to go through your journey chronologically, roughly. So, can you tell me a bit about your game dev startings before Super Auto Pets?
Oh dear. I mean, that goes back all the way to me being a kid, basically. I made small games out of paper, but uh, nothing professionally published by anyone, unfortunately. And I think the first game I made that was like any kind of success was Madness Death Wish on Newgrounds, which was like, if you're familiar with the Madness genre, it's like these small, it's not stickman, but like, it's like a style of Newgrounds, and they're very violent, and I loved it and made like a little pick your own adventure kind of game. And then I made a sequel to that, which was more like a arena shooter. And then I made a sequel to that, which was not Madness based, but like my own little universe, which was also arena shooter. Then I made a sequel to that, which was also arena shooter. It was basically the same game. I iterated 4 times, and it got better and better every time. And I learned more and more about programming. And then those were like the big games that I made. And then eventually I go to the university where I met Lau, who is now my business partner. And we created the company Teamwood Games and made Super Autopets. He also made one game before this. And I made many other games, like tiny projects, but very little became of them. So yeah, that's like that's the short version.
And did any of these games get traction? Did they get played, or did you do any marketing, or was just putting on newsgrounds at that time enough to just get plays?
I made, I think I don't know what's the game I made that had the most views, but I made a game called Versus Umbra, which was also like a side-scrolling arena shooter that had like perks that you can unlock and weapons that you upgrade. It was inspired by Fallout and Ratchet and Clank, and took from their systems to create like a what I would say, very addictive game loop. And they became fairly popular, like I think over 1 million views. So that's not nothing. But I mean, that was back then where you didn't really earn that much unless you somehow got a deal, publishing deal with one of the big portals, and I didn't. I had like a small sponsorship, but nothing that you can buy a car out or a house from, but enough to sort of see that I can make something that other people respond to.
Yeah, I think it's a great introduction basically to game development, that you know that you can make something that people play and enjoy, and that even though it doesn't pay your full adult bills, still you know that there is money to be made. I think that helps a lot to get that early experience. So, did you go to game dev university, or just so? What did you study where you met Lau?
So I started actually at the Roskilde Technical School, which I don't know understand. I don't know the terms in English, but basically after primary school, you go to like not university, but some
College,
other kind of school.
I think.
Yeah, I went to a school.
Yeah.
And it was not a university level school, and I learned how to program web pages, and that was PHP. I don't know if anyone ever really uses PHP anymore, but that's what I learned back then, and that was just enough to understand code enough that I could make like a choose-your-own adventure game, which to me at that time was like huge because I was 18 and I only tried to program a little bit before that. And every time I saw code, my first thought was, how can anyone in the universe ever understand this stuff? Like, this is impenetrable. This is impossible. You have to be a world level genius to understand. But really, it's just about taking, a small step at a time. So fast forward to me being 21, I think, 22, 21, 22. I went to university. And you asked if it was game dev. It was not a game dev university, but I did have a game dev line, and it was kind of famous in Europe. a few years before for being one of the best universities for game development, but apparently they botched it the time I got in. So, but it didn't matter because I didn't actually go to the game dev line. I went to the software development line. So I would say if anyone asks me, I'll say I have a background in web development and software development.
And if you remember, what did get you into game development then, or where did you learn game design skills? It was all self-taught.
It was all self-taught, and I probably learned it the same way a lot of other people did, just passively playing a lot of, not passively, playing a lot of games and really thinking about them and wanting to understand them, like look into like how games were made. Like I remember like when Half-Life 2 episode 1 came out, there was like this in-game like commentary track, which I thought was endlessly like fascinating, and wondered like why did at that time, just before the internet was like everywhere in the same way it is now, like back when everyone's still trying to figure out how do we really use this thing, and getting insight into how you develop games was a little not as open as it is now, or maybe it was, but I wasn't aware of it. And I guess I just found this stuff, it was interesting just finding out like how to make a game, the process itself. But I think like my interest just started when I was 6 years, because my father, bless him, he took me, a wee lad, put him on his knee, and then we played Doom, the game where you're just splattering demon brains all over the place. And apparently I could not get enough of that, because I still have memories of sitting on his knee, sitting next to him, we playing like Doom 1, Doom 2, and just having, it just brings warm memories to me. And maybe that's a part of why I really wanted to make games, or why I got so much into games, because I was just introduced to it at a very early age.
Yeah, that's a good start. So also, I assume being from Denmark makes it a bit harder at that time to get the information. And maybe did you know any other people who were designing games or were interested in game design before you went to university? Or did you do it all by yourself, or were there online communities?
I mean, there were, and I think I'll just say that I feels like most of what I've learned about game design, I've learned by watching. Either I've been watching videos, essays on YouTube, or I have just, thought about it and create my own opinions. In the beginning, when I started getting a little more serious, and it's hard because there's no start and no end, because it's like started since I was 6, and it's just been slowly taking steps every day to be where I am today. But I'll say some of the big influences that I had was Extra Credits back when they cared about games, and not now where I think it's all about history. Back then when they had the old team of 3 people, and they were talking about a lot of things that were not as well known, at least not to me. That's where I learned about the Skinner box, and this which is now, I think most people who ever dipped into game design, they will know about Skinner and his experiments with pigeons, and how we just get really easily hooked and addicted into these random reward patterns. But it was incredibly that was one thing. But there were so many topics they talked about, and a lot of them they sort of stuck with me. And eventually, I also found GDC, which, I mean, it's really a grab bag in quality. But they did have one. They had several, but they had one presentation that I am rewatching a few times every year, because I think it's so valuable, and it's called How I Got My Mother to Play Plant vs. Zombies, and it's by George Fan, I think his name is, and he was the lead designer on Plant vs. Zombies, and he talks about the accessibility of, or how he made Plant vs. Zombies so accessible that his mom, a non-gamer, could get into it. And there are so many small things he talks about, even if you're not implementing them yourself, that way of thinking about how to make a game, I think, is incredibly valuable. Really get out of your own head, test the game with someone who doesn't know game, and just really like don't don't stop making your game more accessible, but keep trying to make it better and better, even if it means letting go of some of your ideas. Just sacrifice your own uh, ideal version of the game on the altar of accessibility. I think that was one of the has been very how do you say it?
Influential.
Yes, there was a big influence on the way I tried to design Super Autopets, and it's definitely a very big part of the game I'm making now.
Okay, yeah, so that's a good. I will write that down for maybe towards the end of the interview. The game you're making now, if it's something else than Super Auto Pets, but I definitely see the Super Auto Pets comparison with Plants vs Zombies with regards to accessibility, and it should have been, it must be a big part of its success. Both, I think, the visual part, and then yeah, somehow you also have to make this gameplay very simple but also in depth. So that's I think yeah, I can definitely see the influence as well. So maybe back to university where you met Lau. You immediately got the plan to make a game studio, or how did that go?
Nah, we met. Was it? It was 14 years ago. No, yeah, 14 years. Yeah, 14. We met 14 years ago, and we created the company. Actually, we made the game 4 years ago, and then created the company 1 year after that, which was not a good idea. If anyone's out there, like, start by making the company, because it's a bureaucratic pain in the ass having to convert from private life to company afterwards. But we didn't know it would be successful. There was no impetus to create a company at that point. We're just making a game because we felt that the mobile gaming market was a complete. It's very bad.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to swear?
Yes,
Can
you
I
are.
swear
Yes,
at
you
this?
are. Then I'll do it as well.
All right, fine. The mobile gaming market was back then, I assume it still is now, a complete shit show. Like, it's free to play in the worst possible model. It's just about getting people addicted into playing like these nonsensical games. That's not really a game, but more like a dopamine slot machine,
Yeah.
and very little in terms of artistic value. That's not true for all of them, of course, but it's true for a lot of them. And if you're browsing like the top 100 games, it's all just awful. We think, as old, kind of soon to be semi-old men, we find it all very distasteful. So we thought we could do better, and I think we did, even if it's not as successful, and even though we have nowhere near the amount of success, fame, or money that those games do, I still look at Super Autopets and think, it's a good game online. It's a good mobile game.
Yeah, so that was the starting point for designing Super Auto Pets. Basically, the motivation was to make something that's fun to play on mobile and not as predatory or whatever as some of these huge successes. At least in the money department, they are huge successes. I wouldn't say, yeah, there are many ways you could consider Super Auto Pets. I think a similar success, but not probably. Candy Crush have made a little bit more money.
I haven't played Candy Crush. They might be all right, but I assume it's also like another. I, I assume they also run a ton of advertisement and try to sell your extra lives on basically every screen.
But yeah, so that was the plan from the beginning, was to design something that maybe you already have seen, but the Plants vs Zombie talk by then. So I assume that also helps, because maybe that's one of the better mobile games where they do a couple of things right, at least in playability. But then you're coming from a background of, I think Doom is kind of a diehard hardcore game basically. Also, I can see the parallels. Funnily enough, of course, the teaming is very different than Super Autopets, but I can see the parallels because it's just a very simple, very also visual game, basically with lots of dopamine to gain. So I can see the parallels as well. But yeah. So how did you come up with maybe the starting point being we want to make something that's not shit for mobile. How did you go from there to, yeah, coming on the core of Super Autopads?
I'm a huge board gamer. I love board games, and I played and own a ton of them. So this whole thing started with, I don't remember, but I had a bit of drama to this. I love talking about this. I don't know why, but it just tickles my brain just right. Um, Clash of Clans, another very famous one that I don't particularly like. But I did like the asynchronous matchmaking of the game. Like, you create your little city and then you can attack other cities, but they don't actually die, because it's like the server takes a snapshot of their city and then you attack the snapshot. You don't attack their actual city. And I thought, that's genius. That's good. I can do something with this. Like, this has to be, because I didn't want to make any type of real time match versus multiplayer. Too much work. And then, yeah, versus came. But that's another. At this point, I'm still young and naive. I thought it was really cool. And I have a board game. I used to. My Lau now has it, called Galaxy Trucker, which is it's basically like you have like a small grid. You have a small board, and then you have which is arranged into a grid, and then you take small pieces, tiles, and you build a spaceship. And then you build. So there are two parts to the game: build your spaceship and then send it out into space. And the second part is like basically like an auto battler. Like, you don't really control much of the stuff going on, but you just die. Like, meteors will hit you, pirates will shoot at you, and everything. And it's just about building a ship that's as stable as possible and try to survive the whole way through space. And it's very fun. So we tried to recreate that as a digital game. And there are some GIFs out there, like, and some screenshots. Like, it's not impossible to find something if you're on our Discord. But we kept struggling with the game being hard to understand. Like, we couldn't, there were too many things going on, or we weren't able to really communicate the things we wanted to communicate. It became more of a spectacle, which definitely could have been a game in its own right. Like, you can make a game that's not really a strategy game, but more a game about watching the spectacle. And I'm sure that would also could have been successful, but also not the game we wanted to make at that point. So we had like this 2D space, or 2D grid,
Yeah.
where you build a spaceship, and we didn't. One thing we struggled with was, in what order do you resolve each ship part? Because some of the ship parts were weapons, and they had an active ability that needs to resolve. And I won't get too much into it because it gets a bit boring without having any kind of illustration. But I'll just say it was a pain in the ass. And I just one day thought, what if we just reduce it down to one line? So it's a straight line. And then we did that and reduced it to just 5 columns. And then that's a completely different game. And now it's a much closer to what you remember, what you're familiar with, which is Super Autopets. However, at that point, the spaceship theme didn't really make sense anymore, right? I mean, a spaceship out of 5 parts, not very interesting. So yeah, we had to do a thematic shift. And I was just browsing online, doing whatever. I know it's 4 years ago. I don't remember exactly what happened, but I do remember very clearly. I found a website where you had access to, or where you could download the different open source emojis that are from different platforms like Twitter, Firefox, and Chrome. Like, a lot of companies have their emojis packs are open source and free for anyone to use. And I just downloaded one of them as placeholders. But then, it started as placeholders, but then they never left the place. So they stuck around.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah. So basically, you went from taking the spaceship, or copying the spaceship metaphor, and then figuring out that, I think mostly that it's just too hard to grasp what's going on if you have the 2D auto battle simulations, because it's not very intuitive as a player what the order will be, and then going to this 1D grid, just a line, to help. Basically, I assume that's the main reason, right? And it works very well. I think still games made after Super Autopads get this wrong. They can just look at Super Autopads and see that it doesn't work, or that it works better with only 1D. That it's just more clear to see why you're winning and why you're losing, basically, and that's very important, I think. And then you added the theming on top of that. So, and at that time, did you do playtesting? Was it just you playing yourself and figuring this all out?
We played with each other because there was also multiplayer, pseudo multiplayer back then, and yeah, we just like we didn't feel good about it.
Yeah,
We didn't.
was
We didn't
already
even.
enough. Yeah,
I think we tried with our wives, but I mean, even if the world, I think even if the world said we love it and we didn't like it, I still like to think that we would not have made it because this whole thing was a game from us to us. Like we didn't make this to make someone else happy. We made it to make us happy, and that changed at some point. That has not been the case throughout the whole of Subor's Bits development, but it was true in the beginning. Yeah.
and
So, but we did test. We did tests when it turned into Super Autopits. We found some friends and tested, but actually not as much as I'm doing right now. I think we might have underestimated testing, or at least we released early and thought, okay, this will be our test period.
yeah. So, and at that point, were you working full time both on it, or was it also just a side project?
We quit the same company at the same time. I don't remember if we did it to make the game or we just got tired. I think we just quit because we got tired.
But it was before
Yeah.
before launching, before getting huge attention. It was so you were already fully working on the game. You had some time basically to work and develop the game.
I'm pretty sure that when we quit, we were not working on the game. But that came quite soon after. And however, we did run out of like our own personal money by the time we released. We were half in the door of some very sweet deals when Super Auto Pits became big. I can't say with what, but we had we had the choice between some very nice employments or continuing with Super Auto Pits, and it was a really hard decision.
Yeah,
because
that's a very
I think,
different alternate history there.
I don't doubt I would have been. I think I could have been happy no matter which path I took, but I went with the one that my life sort of had been building up to, even though it was a really, even though I had a really sweet deal. I thought that no, I have to commit to this. Like I wanted to make a game my whole life, and now it's finally here. I can't just. I didn't want to leave it behind, and I think Lau felt the similar feeling. So we stuck with it.
And so you already felt also that it was a good game, basically, that it has high potential.
I think the moment we switched to 1D, that's when it sort of clicked that we have something here. And I think by now, when I look back at Super Auto Pits, there's a lot of things I could have done differently, and the game could have been better. Like with everything, you learn how to do it better. But I think the core of it really came out when you change to that 1D grid and you just say, okay, this pet, then this pet, then this pet, and this pet, they will do their thing in this order. That is a simple concept to understand, but it creates this endless potential for these Ruby Goldberg machines, which I didn't realize at the time. I just thought it was fun. But looking at it now, I just see like it's not just, I mean, it's just a bad luck. Like they hit each other and the biggest number win. But there's so much creativity you can do within your own build. And 5 pits is just enough that it doesn't become overwhelming, but you have a lifetime of discovery hidden baked into the game, especially now where there are 500 plus pets.
Yeah, I can fully agree to that as a player and as a content creator. I think oftentimes I think, well, maybe there should be 6 because but but it wouldn't be a better game with six. Definitely wouldn't be a better game. It's just that then the Ruby Goldberg, I don't know, the machines get too complicated to fit into 5 pets, but it wouldn't be playable. I think with six, with the current, of course, then the abilities would have been different and etc. But five, yeah, it is very strong, and I think. I did a post a couple months ago in the Discord exactly about this. Still, no game has this combination. So you felt you were onto something. This 1D, this tick based battles basically, no timer based battles, which I really dislike. Of course, you coming from the board game, maybe was never a consideration that you could do these timer based battles.
I think, I mean, I'm leaving out a lot of things, but I think I should also mention that Hearthstone Battlegrounds it wasn't a huge influence at the beginning, but it's definitely like once we changed to 1D, it definitely became very clear that this is very similar to Hearthstone Battlegrounds, and we copied a lot of the things they did. Or if we had some design problem, we would look to other games, and some of those games presented like clear solutions, and Hearthstone Battlegrounds was one of them. And actually, Super Auto Pets, we started by having 7 pets, and I don't remember, but I feel fairly confident we chose 7 because Hearthstone Battlegrounds had 7, and you need to start somewhere. And I played a lot of Battlegrounds at that point. A lot of Super Auto Pets design feels like it's just lucky happenstance, because and not us making like smart decisions. It's more like we tried to solve one issue and then landed on a design that happened to work out quite well. So we started with 7 pets and we changed it to 5. And the only reason you're probably thinking, maybe 7 is way too much, or 5 is a much sweeter number. No, it was like something completely small, like the screen. Like you needed to zoom out too far to see 14 pets at the same time. So we cut it down to 5 so you could actually see what was going on. And that worked. Like 10 pets in battle was much more, created much more visual clarity than 14 did. And that was it. That was the entire impetus for having as many pets as there are.
I love these kind of stories. That it is very. I think you have to kind of It depends on how you look at life, maybe, because you stumble onto this maybe for random reasons, maybe, and then it just works out. I think a lot of these things go like this. I also watch sometimes people explain their songwriting, and it's always something random, and also they're just downplaying their talent most of the time. Like I was hearing this sound in the forest, and of course you were already a good game designer and a good programmer with some intuition for what works, but also these simple things matter a lot somehow. I really love these kind of simple stories.
Yeah, when I look back, when I look at the final product, I feel like I was so smart, like I was so clever. I made this clever game, but most of those decisions were, as you said, just not coincidence. I mean, they were responses to actual problems, but I feel a lot of the genius parts, they were not. It's not me using my big brain. It's just me just trying out 100 different solutions or working on it every day, and then something sticks. And I think my only claim to fame was, I guess, realizing this is good.
I think
and
that's
holding
the skill.
on to it.
The skill is also that you see these 100 things, and somehow you have to figure out which one works, and then the next decision again. There's so many tiny decisions because I've been doing these small game jams and some game design, and until you try that, I think everybody should try it just to know that the insane amount of decisions that have to be made to design a game, it's really impossible to fathom if you never did anything like that. Every button, everything is a decision. The skill cap, when did that came? That you cannot get more than 50 health, for example. That's one of these random decisions that pops up into my mind, that somehow you had to. Yeah, probably you didn't start with that, or did you?
No. Why would we, right? I mean, it's so much easier not to have it. And I've learned a lot since then. There's a lot of constraints when you have like the limit like that, in terms of accessibility, at least. Like, what happens if you have 49 life and you add +2 temporary? Like what's the how should it look like then? Like there's a lot of small like
Yeah.
interactions that if you have infinite life, you don't think about it. You don't have to worry about it. But then you start reach that ceilings, weird things start to happen. I still don't know how Lau he coded like the giant otter, which has stats that gets removed again. And I don't want to think about it because it just gets messy very quickly. The 50, the max stats of 50, I think that was because we just wanted. I God, it was one of the first thing, or not one of the first thing, but I was in year one, so I'm guessing it was either a response to scaling, like wanting to limit how much you can scale. So abilities like the crocodile, he deals a fixed 8 damage, or 16 or 24, but the other pets they can scale infinitely. So all those fixed stats abilities, fixed number abilities, they get outscaled, which I don't think is good. Like all pets should be usable somewhat until the end of the game. There should be like a tipping point where one pet becomes better than the other, but it shouldn't be like inevitability where one type of pet is so much better than the other. And fixing the maximum amount of stats you could have, that would limit at least how effective scaling was. But it could also have been pets like the dodo that can put 150% of its attack on top of another pet. Combine that with the leopard. Like if there's no ceiling, those things can just absolutely nuke you out of existence. So that's also puts a cap on that. I think those were probably two reasons why I would add something like that, or why we did.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I think then you have some kind of design philosophy that I think there are games and gamers that love when people things can just go out of bounds and explode. But I think it's even before you had versus, it's still a player versus player game, and it would ruin the fun if there's all these overpowered combinations. I think that's a design decision that you have to make very early. That you want to keep it a bit of balance and give every pet a chance, basically. And I think I was now doing some content on ranking pets, and one thing that stands out to me is it's very very hard to rank pets, and that speaks for me for the game, because there's a couple of pets very strong, there's a couple of pets very weak, but there's a very huge part of pets in the middle that are all similar. They're very different, but you could not rank them. So I think that's because some are better in this case, early game tempo, late game if you invest in it. So I think that I think that's very well done, basically. So I want to jump to the part where you released the game. I think first on HIO, you said that would be basically just test in the wild. And then later, of course, the big wave that came, I think only after you released on Steam, right?
So actually, it started out of Newgrounds.
Oh, I didn't do my
Yeah.
homework.
Nah, that's fine. It's not. I don't think it's there anymore. I think we removed it because doing updates just became a bit of a chore, and people didn't play it on Newgrounds anymore. So I thought instead of giving people access to an outdated version, which probably at this point wouldn't have worked anymore because the servers are shut down
Yeah.
for that very old version. But it's out on Newgrounds, and then it came out on itch and Steam, and exploded when our Lord and Savior Northern he bestowed upon us his attention and exposed it to the rest of the world, which of course had a wonderful chain effect where other content creators would then also play it and talk about it even more. It was basically like our unpaid marketing department was all of the lovely content creators on Twitch and YouTube. You as well.
Well, I was a bit later to the game, so I don't think I had that big of an influence as Northern Lion. And also, without him, I wouldn't have played the game. So still, it would be back to him. That's crazy how these things happen. So can you tell a bit about what went through your heads basically at that time? Because you just launched this thing and hoped for the best. Did you have any plans or goals?
We made the game. We released it to no fanfare. A soul crushing, and I really do mean soul crushing, lack of feedback, a lack of anything. Very, very frustrating. And we also came off from having built the game over, was it in 1 year, 1 year and a half, which is quite a lot when you're not earning any money. And that year wasn't that fun anyway, because you're very budget conscious when you don't have a job and you put your everything into this. And we knew, okay, if it doesn't do well now, we have no more money. We gotta go back to the grind. And that didn't super excite me, to be honest. And yeah, so we were not great. We're fine, but not feeling good about the game. And so I go to my mom's place with my wife, and we go there and we have food and it's nice. Just have a little visit. And I get a text from Lau, who is just at home doing whatever he's doing. And he said, the servers are down. I'm like, that's unfortunate. Good thing nobody's playing. And he's like, no, you don't understand. Everyone's playing it. They're dying. Our servers can't take it. And I think he hinted at like Northern, or he said something, and our entire family is just rushing to the TV and tune into YouTube, and we realized, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, then it becomes very real, I assume.
I mean, it's almost too much, honestly, because I watched Northern for years before that. Like, I watched him play Binding of Isaac every day while eating breakfast, eating my muesli, before going to university on my rusty shit-ass bike. But he was there with me in the breakfast. And then I watch him on YouTube, YouTube, covering the game that I made. I mean, it's surreal. It's weird and wonderful. But yeah, don't know how to really describe it, because after 4 years it's just become a part of your life. But back then it's like,
yeah. And I'm not the best history buff. Was there already a paid pack at that point? Because it was, of course, it is a free-to-play game with enough playability with just the turtle pack, and I think if anything, then only the puppy pack existed. So was there even a way for people to spend money?
See, now those are some deep wounds that I'm probably the only one who cares, but I really care. So when he played Super Ultimates, it was only turtle pack, and it worked fine. I mean, the balance was out of whack, but people still liked it, so it wasn't that bad. It wasn't unicorn release bad. There were no puppy pack. There were a dying server, which we had to upgrade immediately and fix some horrendous programming bugs so the game actually ran, but there was no income. I think at that point we didn't even have hats or backgrounds, but they came very quickly. I think. I don't remember, but it doesn't matter, because regardless of what people say, whatever people want you to believe, cosmetics is not a big breadwinner for us anyway. It might have been super successful for other companies. We didn't. For us, it's all about the packs.
Yeah.
I know you talk to the other guys about it, and they all have ideas like how to make Super Ultimates like successful. And I've heard people suggest that more cosmetics is good, and I have people write to me say cosmetics is the way forward. It wasn't. It isn't.
I have a lot of thoughts on this, but I said some of them. I'm not on the part of giving your hopes for the business side or cosmetics either, I think, for this game. But it wasn't for you. So you tried that because you had to try anything, probably?
We had some assets we could sell. So we added them quick smart, as quickly as possible, if they weren't already there. But it didn't matter, because it wasn't. We know, for us personally, that's not how we want to make money.
Yeah.
Because we personally don't care about cosmetics. And honestly, like, if I remade the game, cosmetics would be a much smaller part than it is today. Whatever. We didn't have a pack, but we know, okay, time. This is time. Like, we need to strike while the iron is hot. So we made the puppy pack, which was like a lot of the old pets. I think it's like 25% new pets. Hard to say. Someone else can fact check me. And looking back on it now, I feel a tremendous amount of cringe because basically all it was is just pets that scale. Like 25% new pets, all of them is like, I get bigger by you fulfilling some kind of condition. There was no like, there's no interactivity between you and the other player. There's no there's no smart play. It's just about getting the numbers as high as possible, which some people liked, which might have been, which may make it okay for other people. But for me, looking back on it, I feel that we rushed to make a product so we could make money, which is fair because we had none at the time and we really needed the cash to continue developing the game. And I think I made amends by redesigning the puppy pack later, even though some people disliked it for the usual reasons that people generally don't like change, which is fair. They bought it in one way and now we changed it. I'm sorry to those people, really. Like, it's always it is a hard decision, but I really felt that we didn't really give people the value that we wanted to at the time. I think it was not well designed, and it's the closest I've come to selling out, and I don't like it, and I wouldn't do it, but it was a response to our very real financial situation.
I think maybe it's not my role as an interviewer, but I think you did the right choice, and I wouldn't even have feel that you have to make amends for it. It's very clear that's the right thing to do, even for those that maybe disliked some of these parts. That will always be there. It's very fair. It was never expensive. It was never a big cash grab from my side. So just one guy's opinion. I fully understand it, and I think you did. Yeah, maybe also the ethical choices, not just the right business choices, maybe even not the right business choices, because you could have earned way more probably, but also the ethical. From my perspective, it's very very fair what you did with these regards.
I think nobody has ever blamed us. It's all from myself. It's all my own, like, I know my motivation at the time. I know why I did the things that I did. And I didn't hate it back then. And it's not the worst thing anyone has ever done. But for me personally, who I can only control my own actions, that's not what I wanted to do. That's after the fact.
Yeah, sure. But yeah, then of course I can imagine this weird you basically get thrown out of of an airplane and still have to figure out how to open your parachute or whatever, and you didn't expect it. Of course, on the one hand, you hope that something like this happens, but then it happens 100x that maybe you were prepared for. So it's really tough then. Without you never done anything like this before at this scale probably. Maybe the server side is fixing is already hard enough, and then you have to do all this other stuff, which I love these kind of stories, but just because I know and I can feel how insane it must be and how stressful it must be, and to come out on top already, just come out alive with the game still working and people still playing is already quite an achievement, I think.
It is. The servers back then, fun little side, like, technical thing is that we used to run everything on one server. So, and it didn't support versioning. So whenever we released a new version, Lau, he sat over his computer, and the moment he pressed stop, kill server, he had to immediately press the start server and hope that everything worked. So, we shut it down and then turn it on again. And if you're out there and you don't know and you're not into the technical side, it means that the game didn't work for like up to whatever time it took to release the new version. And if that new version didn't work, and we didn't know for a fact, because every time you deploy your program on a computer, you haven't done it before, you're never secure in that it will work. You never really know. And sometimes it didn't. He shut down the server, tried to turn it on again with the new updated game, and it just wouldn't. It just explode. Or tell him no, I don't want to, and then he has to either scramble to solve it very quickly or turn on the old version again, because we were so unprepared for like any type of success that we just do it the quick way, the easy way, and then you get big, way too quick, and you have to scramble for some solutions. I mean, now we run multiple versions at the same time, so we can do like a smooth transition. But back then, no, 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 no. Ah, rainbow style, baby.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
whatever.
that's great.
Commando.
But I think, yeah, again, I think the right choice is because otherwise you have fully over-engineered, and there's a
Yes.
universe where still you release the crickets, not the in-game pet, and then yeah, it could have happened if the Northern Lion didn't click that day randomly on the top free-to-play games on Steam chart or whatever. Then yeah, I think I think it's still very fair decisions to not over-engineer basically.
I think it was a mix of two. Like we did have a mantra that was just get it out as quickly as possible, because I mean we didn't want to spend 2 3 years on something that might not be a success. So we did cut a lot of corners in code, in design, in everything. It was just about getting something fun out as quickly as possible. And we hadn't really prepared for the future, because I think in my wildest dream, my happy place would just be earning the salary of a student, basically. That's how low
Yeah,
my expectations were. And I don't know what his was, uh, but basically, we were very modest. So we would probably just take things as they came. And then they came very quickly. And I think we could have spent even a little bit more time. If we had the experience, we could have spent a little more time preparing for some kind of success. That would have made it a lot easier. But stuff like versioning, like I'm sure there are people out there who has never had success making their own product, but who have worked enough to know that all you need to do is just add a little blah, blah, blah,
yeah,
and do
sure.
do do, and then the whole thing will be so much smoother. But we were just so fast over the field, and hadn't really we hadn't made this type of project on our own. Like we've always been a part of a team, or made something that was less more easier for one person to grasp over. So it was trial by fire in many
Yeah,
ways.
yeah, and I think games industry, which is maybe a bit of a dirty word in my head, but whatever, the field of making games is an industry you're talking about. Well, maybe just a regular student salary or whatever. Yeah, it's a world just like any art or entertainment world where either you get zero or it rounds down to zero, or yeah, there's basically no calm version of making games. I think either you make nothing or it fully spins out of control, and that's why often, of course, you have investors and all this stuff to mitigate this risk. But if you do it solo, then yeah, it's either one of these. I think you fully fail or somehow, and that's of course the better direction than fully failing. But then you spin out of control. So I was want to jump ahead a bit to Super Autopads now. I think there's many. Maybe if you have any good, interesting thoughts, because there's a lot that I'm skipping. Maybe some decisions because there's still many decisions from there to now. So if you have any stories on that, on the new packs or your own plans, or did you? Yeah. So did you expect at that time that you would be working on it? I think it's 5 years later now already.
Is it 5? I thought it was 4. Maybe it was 4 last
2021.
year.
Well, yeah, it's almost
Oh,
5.
is it 21? I don't remember. We didn't really do like anniversaries or stuff like that, because we're very, I'm very mood driven, which is for good and for ill. If I'm in a bad mood, you can feel it in the game. If I'm in a good mood, you also feel it in the game. But I never really, like, it's too much planning. Like I
Yeah.
have to build up something big, and I don't know. It just didn't appeal to me. So I'm bad with time. What was your question? Sorry, I got
Yeah,
sidetracked.
is there any interesting stories from basically the big launch and the first paid? I mean, there must be many, but the big first paid pack and things that you tried and maybe weren't a success, and things you tried that you're very proud of with new pack releases or versus. There's so many of this stuff basically keeping adding on this game.
So, I mean, yeah, but a lot of it, I think a lot of it requires probing for me to actually rattle it out. I say like things like the weekly pack. Everyone who's ever played Super Ultimate probably, uh, when I think Super Ultimate, I wouldn't be surprised if half of player base think weekly pack. Like that's one of the most defining features of the game. And really, it was like just a spur idea that came from nowhere, basically. Like we wanted to make custom pack. I was making custom pack, and I made the code for custom pack. And after I was done, I was like, it's fine. I don't know. I did all this code, but I don't really like custom packs. I personally don't like custom packs. I don't like deck building most of the time, except for one game. And I just thought, like, what if it's just randomly created? And then I'm like, hey Lau, what do you think of this idea? What if we have like a thing that creates itself every week? He was like, and then that's it.
Yeah.
It took, as I recall, it took 24 hours to program the weekly pack. And we didn't give it any thought, like no monetization thought or anything. We just like put it in there and see if people like it. They did. And maybe, I think it gave a lot of longevity to the game. I think it's one of those moments where you can feel really clever, like, oh, I just brained it all out.
Yeah.
But really it was just like one stray thought and just grabbing it and splopping it into the game.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So that brings me to another question I had, because from my point of view, I only see the people who are very active with the game or online as well, or watching content, are being active in the Discord and in other Discords as well. So I think from our perspective, we get a very lopsided view of what Super Autopets players are, and I always think, well, there must be, of course you can see the names of the players you get matched up, but I play a lot of custom packs. I also don't like the pack building, but I do like the custom packs. But not the creating part. But then you get matched up with people who do that, and I assume that's a very small percentage of Super Autopets, of the full Super Autopets player base that even tries out custom packs. So very wondering, is there, how big is the world outside this YouTube Discord bubble, also internationally, because it's also a casual game, I think. So probably must be very big, with a lot of people who don't even know that there is Discord, that there is a YouTube world.
I haven't looked at the numbers in quite a bit. I mean, the only number I really care about is like, what do we earn every month? As in, can I still do this tomorrow? That's the only thing that really excites me. And then balancing, like, God, do I care about balancing? And it takes forever to do, but it is very important to make the game gel well, at least. I think like last time it looked, it's quite big. Like, to me, like, sure, compared to really like Minecraft, no game is big, but compared to Anthem, it's quite big. To me, like, I'm very happy when I see the numbers. Personally, I get a joy, get satisfied to know that there are that many people who still play the game and played it for a long time. Even if we are, I mean, there's still new players, there's still new people every day.
Yeah.
Many people who downloaded for the first time. I don't know if they downloaded for the first time, but I assume a lot of them also are. And a lot of people also drop off. Like, it is like so many other games, like, people move on. But we're still able to serve enough people that we can do this somewhat comfortably. Yeah, I guess, I mean, I am painfully aware that Super Autopet is not as big as it was when Northernline played it. And there was a guy who made a YouTube video called Super Autopet is dead, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sure there are others. But this one in particular struck a nerve with some of the other content creators who got upset, obviously, because they really like the game. And they don't want to hear someone declare it dead, which is also just a blatant lie. It's not dead. It's just not as big as it used to be. But people on YouTube, they love throwing this term around.
Yeah.
Like, Slay the Spire 2, dead.
Already dead. Yeah, dead in the water.
Dead. Nobody plays
Big failure.
Exactly. Uh, so yeah,
But you said it
uh,
struck a nerve, or just for that thought, or something specific they said.
it's just like this idea that it's dead, which is
Yeah,
like that nobody plays it, or somehow it's like not as good as it used to be, or whatever it was. I don't remember. And I think he also ended the video by saying that, oh, it's not as bad as I actually painted. There's still people, blah blah blah, total cop out ending. But
yeah.
nobody in the community liked that message, obviously. And it also, I don't like it either. I don't like it when people tell me that my game is dead, obviously, because
Of
it's still my
course, yeah,
baby.
of course, yeah. And so I was wondering, so do you get still? I think you, like you say, you're still very busy balancing the game, but it's I assume it's very hard because so many different types of players. Now you have versus, they have very
Yeah.
different goals than people like me with custom packs. I think custom packs always, which is fair, gets a bit put to the side because you can always build a different pack. So it's of course more important to focus on the static packs being balanced. And then you have this huge casual audience, which maybe you almost get no feedback from, except for maybe analytics, if you ever look at that, because the moms you were designing for basically, not specifically only moms, but yeah, I think for keeping the game alive or growing the game or slowing the decline, it's very important to look at the new players, but they will rarely ever say anything probably. So how do you balance all this different parts?
We don't, basically. New players. I know there are new players who sometimes manage to penetrate the impenetrable Discord wall, and they still write us, but it's much less than they used to. I think for the game, I'll say the new players is not our main concern, and maybe it should be, but I think no, it doesn't matter what it is. Like the reality is that we're not prioritizing new players
Yeah, onboarding
the
or
way we
whatever.
did. No, we don't. Like we give it thought, we look it through, and we sort of
You did add recently a bit more guidance for new players, but it's, yeah,
yeah.
it's not it's clear that it's not the full focus in content updates, for example.
I thought I like okay. Let me be more concrete. In the beginning, the game just had a play button and it had like the tutorial, and I think that was enough. That was enough at the time. I have no idea if it's enough today. Like there's some people who cry out for a tutorial, but I'm not. I don't really think that Super Autopilot is the type of game that necessarily benefit from a tutorial. Uh, what I don't have data on this, but I do listen to channels that do collect data and people who do collect data. And as far as I can tell, like tutorials are like nobody plays tutorial.
No,
That's the gist that I'm getting. If you're making a tutorial, it has to be like soft interwoven with the game itself. And that's I don't maybe if I sat down and I really thought about it, I might be able to improve the Super Autopets onboarding experience to
exactly.
be
Yeah,
more than it is now. But personally, I really like how direct it is. Like it tells you exactly what you can do, not why you should do it or what you sort of get from it. That part is left to the gamer to find out. And some people will. I know people who don't think that's enough, but to me, and that was the point from the beginning, was this is a game from us to us, and that's also reflected in the tutorial, is that it leaves room for discovery. It leaves room to learn it at your own pace. And I also think the game has just the right amount of complexity that you can figure it out from the context clues, from you watch the pets smack into each other. And it remember when you play it for the first time, it also does it step by step. Like you have to
yeah,
press play
yeah.
before it does something else. And I know people who really still use that, but all the hardcore people don't, of course, because they also plays on forever. For me as well. I mean, this is forever talk, right? Like, is Super Autopilot as inviting as it could be? Probably not. I mean,
Yeah,
on
well, I think it's clear that you made whether consciously or unconsciously, the decision that you took a direction. Basically, you still take a direction where you say, well, you treat maybe the players as adults also a bit, I would say, or like you would have liked yourself. So I really dislike games that fully handhold you and stuff is not available at the beginning, so you're basically forced to play through a couple of runs because they want to teach you all the mechanics like you're an idiot, and then that's a drop off point for me. So and some other people will drop off because it's too complex at the beginning. So I think it's good to
Exactly.
pick a side and do that. That's a general design, not even game design advice. I think if you do something,
Yeah.
do that fully and not try to be in between these things. I think the biggest thing that changed, of course, from the tutorial that you had in the beginning is now there are 500 pets. So that's really overwhelming, I think. And if you want to get into versus, you have to learn way more than you used to in the beginning. So that's a bit hard to overcome, I think, for new players. But I think still there's a lot of fun to be had with just the turtle pack and the weekly pack. But then again, that doesn't earn you any money.
No. So currently, when you start the game, you press play, and then you have three options, soon to be four options, which is a lot. And that's a part you probably could improve. Like the arena button is still the biggest, brightest one. So I'm hoping, and I haven't actually looked into any numbers. I don't know if it actually works because slightly lazy, I'll admit. I'll be less lazy for the next
Yeah,
one.
you're also a Felix-based designer, so why would you look
Exactly.
at analytics?
Exactly. So once you press play, you only have the turtle pack as an option. And no difficulty, like nothing. All you can do is press play. Like it just takes you through the step that you will need to do to play the game. And then you only have turtle pack. And once you start turtle pack, you're only playing against turtle pack. Like there are 500 other pets, but you don't have to know about them. Um, and that goes on for a couple of games. Like before the game itself will open up and show there are endlessly more possibilities, you will actually have to play like 5-10 games. So I mean, I don't know why I'm really explaining to you. Like, it's not, you already know the game. And it's not like I can convince someone that this game is accessible. You should feel it's accessible. But yeah, this is just my train of
Yeah,
thought when we talk about, like, is it too complicated? Like, maybe if you look at the whole thing at the same time, but we create like a narrow window for new players to look through. And is that good enough? God, I don't know, because
yeah.
I know we haven't done serious playtesting with new players today.
Yeah, well, to me, so of course, obviously, you don't have to defend anything. It's just very interesting. I think it's not even about the exact decisions, whether good or bad. For me now, it's very interesting to hear you explain your thoughts and your thinking. I think that's the most interesting part, more so than, yeah, there is no right answer. Basically, I think it's just fun to hear you, yeah, reason through this stuff, and what some parts are conscious decisions and some parts are just, well, never really paid attention to that, which, yeah, you have a finite amount of time and attention, so that's very obvious that you have to spend it somehow. So one thing that it's maybe I hadn't even prepared this question, but it came to my mind thinking about this. So let's say you were making Super Auto Pets 2, which basically means for me that you get to, of course, you can. There's lots of mechanics that you cannot really change anymore. All this stuff that we said, 5 pets rolling in the shop, how gold works, etc. Also the monetization with the packs, with the backgrounds. So I think Super Auto Pets 2, just like say Slay the Spire 2, can give you a free pass to change some of these legacy things that you're maybe unhappy about. So I don't know if you ever thought about this, but maybe from the top of your mind, what would the biggest changes be in this hypothetical Super Auto Pets 2? By the way, no announcement, of course. I'm just making this up.
I I can say now, there's no Super Auto Pits 2. There is a pack that's only on my machine that is sort of like a spiritual 2. It sort of changes the rules that I kind of wanted, I wish were different in the first place. But it's not just the rules. It's not. It's also how the pack were designed, and it's basically like it's a self-contained pack. Like it's only these pets against these same pets. No custom, no wiggle, no nothing. It's just like this whole self-contained universe. And the first thing I really wanted to do was remove like attack and health. So there's only one stat, which is basically your attack health.
Like in the board game, I think. Haven't played it. The Super Auto Pets board game. Of tabletop game. Oh, no. Very different. Okay.
Very, very different.
That.
Completely different. Now it's just like one less number.
Yeah.
There's like
so pets have one stat, no different attack and health.
No, it's just the same. Like, so you have 10, it's like you have 10 health and 10 attack, and then you take 5 damage. Now you have 5 attack and 5 health. One thing I really dislike about Super Auto Pets is draws. Like, to me, draws is it elongates the game and can elongate it way more than it should be. Like, to me, ideal is like the versus experience, like where you make it to, I think daily mode has 15 turns, right?
Yeah, maybe 12, 14. I only played the first iteration, so but something like that. It has a maximum turn at least.
I think that's sort of that number came because we talked about what's like the ideal length of a game, and it's around there.
Yeah,
and ties. I mean, it also brings some uncertainty into the game, which is cool. But you can also force draws. And then you start getting out into the fringe turns where weird stuff start happening.
I agree. The game isn't built for past turn 18 or whatever. You see these lobbies, these 64-player lobbies, and then it doesn't work anymore.
No, it becomes way too focused on scaling, and I don't particularly like scaling. Like numbers go up, monkey brain, all that. That's fine, but it's not compelling gameplay or game design to me. There's a million games out there about like making numbers go big. I'm more interested in making the Ruby Goldberg machine, like where you feel like clever for the way you structured like your pet team, and they combo in sweet ways, and it's satisfying.
Yeah.
And that you did it better than the opponent. Oof, that's the good stuff.
So the pack you were talking about,
it has more emphasis on that. And one of the things I'm theorizing a little bit is that you have less ties if you change the system to be that. It sort of also depends on the abilities. But really, I just like the one number, simpler. It means you can write shorter text boxes. But these are like the small things. And maybe it doesn't work. I shelved the pack for now because I'm working on something like completely different. And still trying to get the balance of Super Auto Pets just right. But it's like, let's say it's a design preference to have as little complexity as possible. And I don't really think that the fact that you have attack and health are two separate things is better than having one. Like I just copied it, took it for granted because Hearthstone did it. And I mean, maybe they did it just because Magic did it. Because when Marvel Snap came out, they only had one number, just your power number. I mean, they don't use it for attack in the same way, but it really makes the game even simpler, but no less interesting for it. I don't really want the top ceiling either, like the max stats.
The cap.
It is a solution to a problem, but maybe I would like to solve it in a different way.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's not doesn't feel elegant. If you like simple rules and elegance, then it's kind of a band-aid, of course.
I think one thing that I did do with the new pack, but I haven't really tested, so it's all kind of theoretical. I made it and didn't really have time to play test it for realsies. Is that you are leaning more into buying pets and building your team and not scaling your team to the sky. So they're less scaling, but also when you buy pets from the shop, they are quite a lot stronger than what you have now. So you're always incentivized to spend your money on replacing your team. But the one thing that makes me hesitant is that I know for a fact that replacing your team, pivoting, that is the most interesting gameplay, but it's not the one that people naturally want to do. People want to invest into whatever pet they fall in love with and build that up and make it strong. And it feels bad to sell early those pets that you invested into. And I think that's an inherent thing with humans. And I haven't quite figured out how to solve for that. Like we talked about making a game where that was the pivot, that was the whole point of the game, just building a team of pets and you stick to that.
Yeah.
But it's not very dynamic. So that's me trying to find like a balance between what is interesting gameplay and what it makes you feel good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think maybe that's where the teaming again it plays a big role. Some people, maybe I'm not one of these people, really cares about the fact that it's an actual animal that you feed an apple and may help grow up and all this stuff. I don't. I played it a couple of times with my nieces, and then they see the game very different, of course, than I do, because for me, I'm very ruthless. I don't care. I love the pivoting. It's something just an it's the fun part for me to find out that you have to do that. That's so. I think it's nice that you can do both. I think, of course, you will start losing against better opponents if you do not never figure out that you have to sell and not invest. But it's still a a valuable way to play, of course, and it's fair to do if you don't care about beating the best teams, maybe.
I have no doubt that no, I have some doubt, but I feel if we wanted to make the game as maximum appealing as possible, it would lean into that. I think it's more generally feel good. It feels better to a majority of people if you're just upgrading the stuff you already have. Like you never take a step back. You're just investing stuff into your current team and make them as big as possible. I think that's the mainstream appeal. And us going the other way probably took some away from the mainstream, but I think it also gave the versus community, like that's the reason the versus community can exist, is that there is the skill expression of wanting to pivot and knowing when to pivot and which pets to pivot into. Like that adds the strategic nuance that makes people very passionate, but also makes it more niche.
Yeah. And from your personal, because you said you made the game for yourself, which player are you? Are you more this that you really enjoy this depth that it clearly has, or are you more happy playing the more instinctual, fun version?
I don't play very sweaty. I play for the synergies. Like for me, it's just about creating that wonderful machine that just work together. That's where I get the enjoyment from. And most of the time, I mean, you want to pivot because it's later tier pets that has the strongest abilities, and that's what you're really building into. So in that way, yeah, I prefer pivoting, which is also why the game is like that, because it is very much an expression of our personal preferences up until the point where people really started caring and we didn't know what we were doing, so we sort of had to rely on statistics, on stats, on player feedback. And after a certain point, it became more about what did the community want rather than what do I specifically want. And even though sometimes I tried to sneak in this pet design that I really like, and then the whole world says, no, it's bad, it's no good.
Ruins the game fully, unplayable with this one change.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough. It's not your game anymore, basically, I think, after 5 years. Of course, it's your game, but it's some people's game as well. And it's very tough, I think, to know what to listen to. I think then it's very good that you keep also still in mind that you made it for yourself, even though, you changed, it changed to being from everyone else. And I think this first community, very interesting. It's very interesting that it is a very good game, I think. I don't like playing versus at all. I never play it because I don't like the time pressure and I don't like the positioning part. It's like you say, it's too sweaty for me, that if I have to calculate and position against the opponent, that detracts from the fun. But it is, as far as I can see, a very good esports almost, but it's impossible to not be a niche game in this regard, just because it looks very weird. It's very fun to look at, but it doesn't look like it's a sweaty game. So I think that's a bit weird split with versus.
I regret using the word sweaty because when I hear it back, it sounds pretty bad. But it's not real. It's not meant at all like a bad thing. That's just the word that the versus
Yeah, yeah,
part
yeah.
use themselves. So I'm just parroting their language. I think versus is the most interesting part about the supporter pits, and I really like some of the videos that RevGT made about like some of the tournaments
Yeah.
and showing into the nitty gritty detail, like, oh, he made a big risk selling this pet, going for this one, or
Yeah.
positioning them, like the mind games. God, it's so good. Like, and as the player, you have to feel so good. Like, you are in a losing position, but if you play suboptimally, because you assume your opponent is going to do this and that, yeah, you're playing to your outs, and it pays off. Ah, that's magic.
Yeah.
And I,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's crazy. Yeah, maybe that's also, of course, the downside of having all these things to balance as well. Maybe if for Super Auto Pets 2, it's not Super Auto Pets 2, but it's Super Auto Pets. We only care about versus, so we can balance the pets just about maximally improving the versus game, and let's give the other people just the old game and arena to play with. I think it would be fun to ask you any advice you would give other game developers or yourself 6 years ago or 4 years ago. So any wisdom as a veteran game designer in the current day that you have to give.
every week I sort of think about what's the ultimate wisdom that I've gotten, or maybe I'm looking for someone else's wisdom. Like, you never stop. At least I never stop seeking like the knowledge of other better or bigger game developers. And I try to also think about, like, what have I learned in all this time? Like, what kind of knowledge can I even give to someone else? Like, what's a truism? What's something that's always true? What's the thing that I've learned from other people, or that I learned myself through trial and fire? And it's just every time I feel like, oh, I'm nailing. I found the one thing that's always true. I found out it's never one thing that's true. Um, except for maybe the only thing I come back to is iteration. Like, whatever you do, you just have to prepare to iterate. That's the only thing that I have ever can only ever say has always been true. If anyone is out there looking for advice how to make anything like a game, software, or any product in real life, I assume I don't know, I haven't, but I can only assume this to be true. You have to just prepare to do it over and over and over again, and until you think this is now what I want it to be. And that never stops. It will never be exactly what you want it to be, but maybe it'll be just close enough. But you can always get closer by iterating further, and it will get better every time. The business decisions is knowing when to stop, and that's not something I've ever learned. So I'll just continue to iterate.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, I think to get the best game, then that's true. Yeah, and then the business part is yeah, you also have to make money, so have to get it out the door and charge money at some point.
Do not come for me for business advice. I have a proven record with supports pits that I am allergic to success and money. I don't want it anywhere near me. I want to make a good game, and will never be able to afford a golden helicopter because of this handicap.
No, yeah, but I think that's one thing I want to mention. The longevity of the game is also so. I always it's too much work for me, so that's me being lazy and not wanting to iterate, etc. I always want to make a video about with the title Super Auto Pets is a weird game because it's at so many points it's a weird game that you do so many things that are very rare with the pack system and all these different game modes and how you build this up and just giving access from the beginning to all content. If you pay all no unlocks, all this stuff. So I have this endless list in my head that sometimes when I'm walking I want to make this video, but it's way too much work to make the script and get the footage and all this stuff. I have also other things to do, maybe play Super Auto Pets, one of them.
Good thing.
But the longevity is also very crazy that you're still working on improving this game. Well, yeah, for my side, thank you to you for making the game that I got a lot of enjoyment from. That also gave me some fun of making this content, which for me was also just a personal, I don't know, challenge and just a fun experiment, which got me a lot, including talking to you today. So thanks a lot.
You're welcome.